Hi and welcome back to another Tech Minds video. Now I've had this radio knocking around in the box for quite some time now, and I really wish I took it out of the box a lot sooner. Now the reason for that I'll explain later in the video, but it's something that I've long wanted on a handheld radio that comes out of China. This radio is the TIDRadio H3, which is an 8-band handheld radio. Of course, when you hear that this is an 8-band radio, you think, well, yeah, right. But according to the specification sheet, this radio will receive on airband, 6 and 4 meter handbands, broadcast FM band, 70 centimeter and 2 meters, along with some commercial bands. However, by default, it will only transmit on 2 bands, the 70 centimeter band and the 2 meter band. But within the menu system, you can actually enable transmit on the 1.25 meter band, so great for the US. Later in the video, we'll check out if it's any good. Also later in the video, we'll be checking out things like modulation quality, power output on a fully charged battery, and of course perform a crude test for spurious emissions. The included base charger is powered via USB, and there's an Apple-style mains USB adapter included in the box. If you've ever purchased a radio from China, then you would have noticed in the base of the antenna there's a little inlay which specifies the frequency range of the antenna. Now normally they are very generic, but this one specifically states it's designed for 144 MHz and 435 MHz, so basically the 2 meter band and the 70 centimeter band. The included manual is actually quite good. It covers all the features and functions of the radio in very good English. This manual is also available to download from the TIDRadio website if you want it as a PDF instead. Now the H3 itself is quite small compared to other radios that I've shown on the channel, but it does have quite a solid build to it. Front-facing speaker at the bottom, along with a keypad in between the speaker and the screen. There's also 3 buttons down the left side. Now the top 2 are actually PTT buttons. The top PTT is for VFO-A and the middle button is for VFO-B. The bottom button turns on or off the inbuilt flashlight, which is a simple LED on the top of the radio. Now down the right side of the radio we have a speaker mic connection, which of course can also be used as a programming port. Now below this there's a USB-C socket. Now this is where I would never have thought I would say this, but this USB-C socket can be used for programming. There's actually a built-in FTDI chip connected to this USB-C socket, which means all you need to program this radio is the software and a USB-C cable, which of course there is one included in the box. In fact, there's actually 3 ways in which you can program the radio. You can do it via the speaker mic sockets using a regular programming cable, you can do it via the USB-C socket, or using Bluetooth, which allows programming from a mobile application. Now we'll go over the programming options a bit later in the video. On the top of the radio we have the obvious antenna connection, a white bright torch LED in the middle, the on and off control which also acts as that main volume control. Now you'll also notice a couple of LEDs towards the front. Now, these are receive and transmit indicators for both of the VFOs, and they work independently. They light up green when receiving and red when transmitting. The battery is apparently a 2500 mAh battery, providing 7.4 volts. You also notice that there's an FCC ID on that serial number sticker, so that's definitely something that we can check out a bit later for sure. Now, as well as charging the battery within the supplied charging dock, you can also plug a USB-C cable directly into the USB-C socket that's on the bottom of the battery. There is a little LED indicator which shows red when charging and then green when fully charged, so nice to have that option for sure, especially if you're out in the field and just want to plug it into a power bank. Okay, so let's take a quick look through the menus. There are a few options which I'd like to immediately turn off, and that's the voice prompts and the beep sound that's made every time you press a button. Of course, these features are great for the visually impaired, so adjust these to your liking. Now you'll notice when we get to menu item 42, the firmware version states ham. Now, I'm presuming that if you have the general version or the GMRS version, you'll have a different firmware version. Perhaps any of you that have this radio with a different firmware version could let us know down in the comments below. Now, menu item 45 is interesting as you're able to adjust the radio's mic gain. This is something that we do not often see on those cheaper radios, so it's nice to have this setting available. You can also disable access to the AM band, which of course would be the air band. Now, scrolling through the menu, we'll also come to menu items 52, 53 and 54, where we can enable transmit on 200 MHz, 350 MHz or the 500 MHz band. Now, I'm guessing disabling these would stop any user from accidentally transmitting out of any legal band. For those that get fed up with talking to people on the radio, you can use the H3 to receive FM broadcast channels to listen to your favourite talk show or listen to music while sinking some cold tinnies while out on your SOTA activation.
This is M0DQW, Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey, just testing the audio on the TIDRadio H3, TIDRadio Hotel 3 handheld transceiver. Now this is on the narrow setting with a mic gain set at around 8. Mic gain set to 8. This is Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey. This is M0DQW, Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey, testing audio on the TIDRadio H3, testing transmission with mic gain set to 8, and the bandwidth is now set to wide. The bandwidth is now set to wide. M0DQW, over.
Moving on to checking the power levels, and with a fully charged battery, we see an RF output of around 3.5 watts on the 2 meter band at 145.5 MHz. On the 1.25 meter band at around 220 MHz, we see an output of around 1.4 watts. And then up on 435 MHz, the 70 centimeter band, we see an RF output power of around 4 watts. Now, the H3 does transmit a power output of around 3 watts on the UK PMR band at 446 MHz, but I must state this will be extremely illegal to do so, at least in the UK. Now, as mentioned earlier, there are 3 ways in which you can program the H3, and one of those 3 is via a feature that is the first on any radios coming out of China, and that is to program the radio using the USB-C port directly on the radio with just a regular USB-C cable and a copy of the free programming tool Chirp. Now, this video is not a tutorial on how to use Chirp, but it fully works with the H3, and it allowed me to program all of the local repeaters directly onto the radio. The H3 does have Bluetooth, which can be used to program the radio directly from an app or via a web browser. The OD Master website allows you to connect over Bluetooth from your computer directly to the radio, and this allows you then to edit memories and the features and functions of the radio directly within a browser. Now, this also goes for the mobile app too, which also works over Bluetooth, but you have the convenience of using your mobile device wherever you are to program the radio or add channels. Now, as mentioned earlier, the H3 supports reception on airband. Now, I found this a little strange. Sometimes the transmissions sounded slightly off frequency or slightly distorted. Maybe it's due to really strong signals overloading the front end of the radio. However, there was a good percentage of transmissions that sounded really clear. So take a listen to this quick snippet.
118.505, have a good day, sir, American Flying. Hello, Speedbird 6 Victor Papa. 3,000 feet, I want to establish a 2 simple landing, so I had a Speedbird 49 Charlie. Send 6,000 feet, QNH 103, Speedbird 6 Victor Papa. Either that is over running at a go 129 heavy.
When you have 3,000 feet, when established local over, follow the guide path and to make it over.
4,000 feet, Speedbird 6 Victor Papa. So yeah, right hand orbit at Ockham and then right ahead into it. 5 Cedar 1 Bravo.
Speedbird 2 Mike Green, contact direct with your call sign only on 120-14,
120-4, Speedbird 2 Monday, bye-bye. Right, hello, Speedbird 551, descending flight level 80, just about to take up the big and hold with uniform. London Control, Iberia 31, runner for throw, holding Ockham.
Now finally, let's take a look at spurious emissions, as this will play a big part in whether this radio, the TIDRadio H3, will be a legal radio to use when transmitting, and of course if it's a radio that you might be interested in buying. So first up, we take a look at the 2 meter band and transmit a low-level signal via the use of some attenuators into my tiny SA Ultra, which is set to harmonic measurement mode. We can see here that once settled, both of those harmonics registered are showing more than 45 dB down from that fundamental, which is that main transmit signal that we actually want. So in my opinion, that is pretty darn good for a radio of this origin. Now up on 70 centimeters at 435 MHz, we see the harmonic shown is more than 50 dB down from that fundamental. Again, perfectly acceptable for use on air and is within the legal requirement in most countries. Now I'll lastly test the spurious emissions on the 1.25 meter band at 220 MHz, and here we can see it's not as good as the 2 meter and 70 centimeter band. That middle harmonic is only around 35 dB down from the fundamental, which I'm sure in some countries this would not be acceptable. Well, there you go guys, the TIDRadio H3. Now I did a review on the H8 radio a little while ago, and I did have high hopes for this H3 model. Well, I wasn't disappointed. At the time of recording this video, the TIDRadio H3 is less than £30 UK, and that's including free delivery. Now if you're interested in this radio, then check out the links that I'll put in the video description for more information. Until the next video guys, stay safe, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.